Someone shot the food. Life force flooding out.
Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, June the 16th. I'm Slacker Kite. We only have an hour for you tonight, so we'll cut with all the fun intro stuff and getting talky fun times. But of course, I've got with me Wonder Boy and Lady Merowyn. Woo!
Yes, we are here, and we survived another E3.
We did, seemingly just barely, but and boy, what an E3 it was. For the wrong reasons.
How so? Curious to hear this take.
Okay. I mean, it's a very simple take, I would think. And kind of what I felt like it was going to be going into it is that because of all of the issues, right, that all of these companies have had over COVID, and so many launches that did come out over COVID were bad and seemed to be, as a result of COVID. It didn't surprise me that absolutely none of these presentations really had that it factor. Maybe Nintendo and Microsoft did, and they're the huge AAA companies producing all of the shit. But and those parts felt a little bit more like your standard, E3 pressers. But most of the other companies at most wanted to remind you of the things that they are already working on. And it seemed like a lot of places were working with their back catalog, Nintendo as well. Now, when Nintendo does it, I'm always happy to see that, but still.
I can definitely agree with you on that to a certain extent. Like there were a number of companies here that basically booked space out on this presentation simply to have space on it. Like there were a number of companies like Capcom and Gearbox
Bandai.
that Bandai Bandai Namco that did not necessarily have a ton of new things to talk about or say. Um, Square was really the only other one out of the bunch that had a good chunk of new stuff to talk about. Even if, like we said on Monday, they spent a good chunk of it talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, which makes sense in some ways, makes
Yeah.
does not make sense in others. But but yeah, I mean, it definitely had a different feel to it. I mean, the Intellivision Amico had a segment on an E3 broadcast. Like that's just weird.
but Brian, it's the future of gamings.
I get to play Ink and Gold,
Boy, I'm so excited to play what mostly looks like Flash games from 2006. That's pretty
basically,
cool.
for $250. That thing costs $250.
The hardware does look really cool, and I understand what Tommy is going for with this. That this is a gaming product for your small babinos to play as a family together, and that's a cool idea to go after the market. But not at the $250 fucking dollar price point for games that look like that.
No, no, especially whenever like you can get similar stuff on already existing consoles for your family to play.
Great. I mean, fuck. At this point, you get yourself a PS4. Like, I have to imagine they're going for, not a crap load of money, but hey, that's a console for your kids to sit down and play if you find the right bargain bin games.
I mean, it's gonna like it's a comparable cost whenever you look at a $250 in television Amico and a PS4 that is slowly getting put into obsolescence. Even if Gearbox is bringing Godfall to PS4 after it was released as a PS5 exclusive.
Holy crap, PS4s are still selling for like $300?
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised by that. That price will go down within the next year or two, though.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
hopefully.
it will. I mean, the PS4 price is still high because it's still a solid console. They're still releasing new IPs for it. So
Exactly.
what's the point of upgrading to an overpriced PS5?
Ray tracing.
Ooh. I got ray tracing with the re-release of Skyrim.
Look, I will say one thing for it: the SSD load times are worth the hype that they said it would be. Loading any game is a fucking treat. I look forward to it now, like dying and resetting to see how long this particular game chooses to take to reset me back to where I was. It's intense.
Well, just get ready to play Elden Ring, and you'll die a whole lot and get to experience how quick those load times are.
And I've never played a single game in that fucking genre, so that's going to be a treat.
Well, now you get a whole bunch of options after this week
You
of
know?
different Souls-like stuff that you want to play. So, if you so choose.
I mean, I probably will continue to not choose, though Elden Ring does pique my interest if just because there were some really gnarly visuals in that I would love to see how they play out in the real time. Like seeing that dragon come in and fighting that sounds like some shit I'd love to fuck around with, even if I will die 5 million times.
Mhm, for sure. Well, do you want to get into the last day stuff that we haven't talked about yet? The Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, the Nintendo Direct was the main thing, and I should actually switch to the main thing and pull up a new incognito window. That might help me with what we are trying to do here. Give me just a minute, and I know in our 1 hour stream, fucking around with OBS is less than anybody wants. There we go.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta get done when he's done.
So admittedly, I watched this a little bit later than when it first aired. I was in the middle of meetings because work. Um, and so I already knew I just saw the pictures of Kazuya on Twitter throwing like people away, and especially the one where Kirby instead just flies off because nobody fucking kills Kirby.
Nope. Yes, I just love the fact that there was actually a graphic on my computer screen that said Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Cross Tekken.
I know. The idea, like, I could see from outside of the fighting world that this means absolutely nothing to a lot of the Nintendo casuals that'll be playing it. That is completely understandable. But if you've ever spent time in the fighting genre, I used to, I don't anymore, just for that clarity. But seeing Kazuya up against Mario is fucking brain breaking, and I adore it. Especially when you can put a Terry in as well.
And Ryu.
And Ryu.
Yeah.
Fuck it, you can make your own fighting game now out of various other fighting games. It's so great.
And I would not be surprised if we get more Tekken characters in there. Obviously, the trailer announcement had fucking Hayachi in there too. So even though he's not confirmed as a playable character at this point, I would not be surprised if Hayachi is not a playable character at some point down the line. I don't know. Like this was funny. Excuse me, my throat's a little raw today. It was funny. It was effective. It makes sense. It's cool. I like how weird they're getting with the things they're adding to Smash and have been getting weird with those things for years now. This I don't know. I'm fine with this. And I just love the image of Kazuya throwing the character from Arms into the volcano. Just like the one arm just dangling there and just like kick it off, like get the shit out of here. It's so stupid and edgelord, but I love it.
It's fantastic. It really is, and I will probably never play as any of these like second round fighters, but that's fine because it's just great to have Nintendo troll its own fans like that with that start with Ganondorf being obviously dead and then thrown off of a volcano ledge. Before we get the reveal, they ain't
They
Breath of the
know
Wild.
they know how to do reveals. They know how to do Smash reveals. They really do.
I'm
They
hoping
never
they just
fail.
keep doing it with every, like, even after this fighter pack, fuck, put in another. Bring in some characters nobody remembers. That will be wonderful. Okay, we've got a good couple games coming into the Nintendo Switch. Life is Strange is being remastered, and a new game, True Colors, in the series is to be announced this year. Um, Life is Strange. I heard a lot of people say, "Why are you remastering this?" But um, Life is Strange had a lot of weird graphics issues when I played it, so this seems like a really good idea to me.
And
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit on Monday whenever Lynn's brought it up. Like the art style is nice, but the lighting could have used some work, and the touch ups they've done with the remaster, from what I've seen, look good. You know, at the end of the day, the Life is Strange is about the story, and you don't want to have things hanging up at the progress of that story. So
yeah, I mean, it's like I said on Monday, I would have loved to have actually gotten through the series, but couldn't because I literally couldn't see anything. So seeing it remastered with upped contrast is great.
for sure. I mean, out of a lot of the stuff on this list here is just stuff that's already been previously announced.
Yeah.
But like is coming to Switch. Like I'm surprised that Guardians is a day one release on Switch. That game seems really big for what the Switch can do. Um, the only one that really surprised me out of this truly though was the fact that they are remaking Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater. Or re-releasing rather. That game was a Wii U game, if I'm not mistaken. So you get your Fatal Frame Wii U game on the Switch now, which is, I mean, I'm always here for more Fatal Frame.
I would love to see them bring Crimson Butterfly back
Mm,
because that was where I cut my teeth on the Fatal Frame series and fell in love with it. It's to this date the only horror series I can play.
You
And
know, it
so give me my Crimson Butterfly. I don't have a PS2 anymore.
it genuinely felt like no single like entry was something that would please everyone, kind of with the thing at the end, but all of these like pleased somebody. Surprising, like I saw a lot of people surprised on Twitter, like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting to see that ever again.
Case
uh
in point, the next thing on the list for me.
Yeah, Super Monkey Ball, a series I never really got into, but I know a lot of people that got real fucking into Super Monkey Ball, and bringing back the trilogy, it's been, what, 20 years since the first one came out?
Yep, this is the 20th anniversary collection of the first three games. I believe those first three were all. I think the first two were GameCube games, and the third one I think was a Wii release. Either way, I played the shit out of the first Monkey Ball game on GameCube, and like the mini games are always fun in these titles, and I am really excited that they are packing them all into one place where I can um play them all again in a single place. It's like I remember I have fond memories of like high school playing the mini games, specifically Monkey Flight, um for like hours on end with friends on weekends and stuff. So this is a nostalgia thing for me, but also just a really well made game. And it's smart to bring these three together because these are the three good ones. Like a lot of the later Monkey Ball games have not been good. So yeah, I'm into it.
Did
I
we have
had
a price point for these, or?
No price announced yet. I would not be surprised if they're gonna try and get 60 out of it, but I think it's more appropriately would be a $40 thing. But who knows? We'll
Yeah,
see.
like if you put this at 30 or 40, I might be interested enough to get into this because when it came out, I certainly didn't have the money to just drop on a game willy-nilly, and like the Monkey Ball games require an amount of time investment. You can't just borrow it from a friend for a few days and really get your mitts into it because it's
I
about
had
mastering and fine control. Sorry.
I had the one on the Wii, and I will admit I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more if it didn't rely so much on the motion controls.
Mhm.
Because that just made it like super wonky because we know those motion controls were not as good as they could have been or as good as they needed to be in order to play something like this that required so much precision.
Yeah, like the Wii motion controls, they were great for, if you just need to waggle to do a move or something, but if you're talking precision moving like some Super Monkey Ball needed, at least without that Wii Plus accessory that came out near the very end just before they, came out with the Wii U, and nobody had that.
I did, only because I was dumb enough to buy Wii Sports Resort. Um,
I
but
mean, I
it
did too
didn't help.
because I'm that dumbass that put in a pre-order for Skyward Sword and then never actually played it.
Good news.
Yeah, we'll get to Zeldas. Super Mario Party Superstars. Yet again, this isn't surprising. A lot of people have noticed since the Super Mario Party game. Uh, ooh, this video's private. Since the Super Mario Party game randomly got like a whole bunch of new content out of nowhere, it seemed like they were testing the online for something, and there you go. And I'm entirely for more Mario Party, especially since the initial game that they gave us for Super Mario Party was real lackluster out of the ball with just like a handful of levels, and that's it.
Yeah, and I like that they kind of built this as like a sort of a best of sort of thing where they're bringing back stuff from the N64 era and they're bringing mini games from all different eras of it into one place to kind of give another experience with those games. Like those games are they're I love Mario Party. I also recognized how uh dumb and frustrating Mario Party can be. But I really enjoy Mario Party, so another one for me.
Yeah, I know, especially like Hollis is a huge fan of Mario Party, but he doesn't live in the house anymore here, so having this online play of something like this can definitely bring people together that haven't had a reason to play or hang out for some time. So I'm very likely to look into this once it's closer to coming out.
No, for sure.
The real pants dropper for me was Metroid Dread, a game that has been nigh 20 years in the making. They've had some prototypes wandering around, and people thought it had been canceled forever. This finishes out the series that had the Game Boy games associated with it. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's one of my favorite. Fusion. Yeah, the
Yeah.
series that ended with Fusion last forever ago. So, a new Metroid, it's not. I would rather have had Prime 4, absolutely. But seeing a continuation of the Fusion series, also fine.
No, like I'm into it. Like this was one of the top things from this press conference for me as well. Like I love the how fluid and just how solid the animations look. And honestly, like even though I know that all Metroidvania games are bore out of Metroid, obviously, but it gave me very big Shadow Complex vibes,
Hmm.
and that's always a good thing. So like I'm definitely here for this one.
Yeah, I've actually heard a few people bring this up, and I kind of agree with them. Some of the backdrops feel a little bit too polished for some of these scenes.
Hmm.
One of the big joys of Metroid is playing a Nintendo game that the world itself feels like it may fall apart at any second. There's goo and gross everywhere, and then there's weird shit going on in the background. That they basically put in with Super Metroid, of seeing these really weird background things going on that had zero explanation, but they just looked cool as hell.
I mean, we've only seen small snippets of the game so far, though. I know that they had an extended gameplay look during the Treehouse stream afterwards, but there's still I'm sure there's still plenty to see. So I'm sure it's gonna get gross at some point. What Metroid game doesn't get gross? Come on.
Yeah, and they still have 4 months before it comes out. There is so much that we have not seen, they haven't shown. I know the last 3DS Metroid, what was Metroid, I don't actually remember at this point. It was a remake of Metroid 2. Was anyway,
Yeah.
it didn't wow me that much. So it's not like every Metroid is amazing. But just every time I get to dip my toes back in is always nice. Even with the other rim, yes. They showed off a little bit more of Mario Golf coming out very soon, and I have never seen the internet as excited about a golf game, but I will say it does have that Nintendo look, feel, and polish to it. So I'm not hating anyone that gets super into this. It looks great.
Yo, Battle Golf. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I'm actually excited about. Like, I didn't see a lot during the Nintendo Direct that actually really spoke to me, but yeah, I could get behind this one.
hmm Oh, also, real quick update. I can confirm that Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania is a $40 game at
forty
launch.
dollars. I could fuck around with that. Yeah, I might look into it. We'll see. We'll see how that feels because I have so much time to play every new game that comes out. You know, just a diatribe. It feels like so many people are like, "Oh, like barely anything was shown this year." Bitch, were you paying attention? There's like 100 games plus that were showcased over the last few days.
There were multiple presentations that I watched that boasted how they had 75 plus games to talk about. Get out of here. I know there were duplicate things on presentations, but just get out. Get out
Uh,
if you're saying there wasn't stuff that they show.
Monster Hunter, yeah, Monster Hunter, huge franchise. Yet again, another thing that I can't get into, but I have mad respect for those who do.
Yep,
Uh,
looks good.
yeah. No, real like, oh my god, for me, a new WarioWare game. Always fucking welcome. You wanna put WarioWare out into the world? I am here for it. Great, I love you. Mwah.
Is this the first one that has co-op in it?
I think so. There were like the Wii one you could play against other people, but I don't believe it had any co-op play in it.
Okay, because like that was one of those things that surprised me. It's like, they put that in there, but I couldn't remember if previous games had that implementation.
Yeah, unless they had it in WarioWare Gold, which I think is the only WarioWare I ever played. So I couldn't definitively say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Which is still like one of those shame things right there with the Disco Elysium that I'm getting to at some fucking point at some day when there isn't something that feels more pressing. Something people have been waiting for years. Shin Megami Tensei 5, a game that was mentioned on the very first Nintendo Direct for the Switch.
Bow down to your gender fluid overlord.
Hails, yeah.
Damn it! I know that like all like the promotional stuff out there is like talking about how the main protagonist is like a dude, but like I don't know. You can't take this away from the queers right now. Um, I don't know. I've never really been that into the Shin Megami Tensei series personally, but I don't know. This one looked intriguing, and not just because of the jokey shit that I was saying. I don't know. I might. This might be my jumping on point.
Like for me, the SMT series, you gotta put a pizzazz on it to really get me interested because boy do they require you to have your RPG gauntlets on because SMT games are hard.
Yeah. So
So
I've heard.
yeah, so I don't see myself diving into this. It looks beautiful. I am sure it's a great game. But man, I don't need the Dark Souls of JRPGs myself. Uh
Yeah, I am not familiar with this series, but like watching that trailer, I was all excited. I'm like, cool, there's going to be some really fluid combat. And I'm like, oh, look, it's turn-based. Yep, I'm out.
it's uh it's the series that Persona evolved from.
Ah,
Yeah, so Shin Megami Tensei has been going on since like the NES era.
Yeah, I think the
I've,
first one came out in '95. Oh.
A really interesting one that we also can't watch. Danganronpa Decadence. A beach Danganronpa that brings characters from all three former Dangan grandpas together at the same time.
Hmm. Well, yeah, it's interesting because like I don't necessarily know a ton about this board game. Um, Danganronpa S Ultimate Summer Camp. Like that's really the new addition here because like basically the in the same vein as the other things that we've talked about here, like this is a kind of re-release collection of the first three Danganronpa games.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love the Danganronpa series, but I have not played the third one, so I don't know about this board game. But yeah, they're including this board game in there with it. And I don't know. I This speaks to me. Their all their re-release stuff is like really like stuff that I've already like been invested in
Yeah,
for a while. So I don't know. I'm into it.
yeah, and Danganronpa has been quiet for a while, especially because the team that was working on it had been working on that other game until very recently. I can't even remember the name of it. It didn't go over that well, so I think they're going back to the Thirst Well to get that mad cash, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, I think the third one came out in 2019.
Did it?
Not mistaken. I Don't quote me on that. I can't. I think it might. It was either 2018 or 2019.
I really thought it was a 2016 boy, but man, I could be wrong because the original came out on the PSP any day, if I recall. It really doesn't matter one way or another because I mean it's in that same generation.
Like the
Um,
first game was 2014.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Huh? My
And
there
timeline's
were.
all off.
I mean, there were predecessors, I think, to this, but yeah, the first like this is a relatively new, quote unquote, new series in the grand scheme of things.
Shit, I
like I
thought I
know I've
remember.
tooled around with Trigger Happy Panic. I didn't get too far into it, but it was interesting.
It's a neat
Or
game. I'll never
Trigger
play
Happy
them,
Havoc.
but if you get a chance, watch Luca Jen play them. She's a little bit older than us, and just either like becomes everyone's mom as they're going through, or becomes very thirsty. It's a wonderful playthrough. Uh, she gets very emotional because she's not normally involved in the death and bloody stuff that is the bread and butter of Danganronpa. So her reactions are amazing. I can't recommend if you want to ever watch somebody play it. Luca Jin is wonderful with it. The Maiden of Blackwater announcement, I think we mentioned.
Hmm.
This was leaked already. I think we talked about it before, but also it was at the Ubisoft conference as well. So Mario and Rabbids, it's coming.
Yeah.
A big yode to me. Advance Wars 1 and 2.
Reboot camp.
Yeah. Uh, Advanced Wars, especially 1 and 2, really brought a whole lot of people into the franchise. Advanced War has gone back since the NES days. Um, Usually named something in relation to the console that it's on for the Wars series. So Advanced Wars 1 and 2 really brought people into the series. And it's been quiet since the original DS. They put out two games on that had a more, I don't know how to say the tone of it, more gritty tone than the previous ones. Not to say that there was not grit to an Advanced War game, but it is very much an anime take on grit. So I'm hoping this is Nintendo putting their toe in the water, going like, you buy this, maybe we'll bring back the Advanced War series.
You never know.
Oh, a man can only hope. It's one of the few tactical games that really gets me. I will never beat a Advanced War game because you actually have to fucking work it to win an Advanced War game, but it's so good. Age of Calamity is getting yet more DLC. I think we already knew about that, but there's
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing really substantial. It's some new weapons, some new enemies. Like that's basically maybe some new armor stuff. It's nothing substantial that I think people would want from that game. And by people, I mean me. Um, no, I will say this though before we get into the rest of the Zelda stuff. I love that they said, "Oh, we have one last thing we want to talk about," and then they immediately jumped into the Age of Calamity DLC stuff, and I'm like, they do not have the balls to end this on Age of Calamity.
Yo, I had a feeling for a second when I was like, "You really okay? That this is all you're doing for Zelda's 35?" And oh, of course, we know the Skyward Sword HD is also coming out soon, and that's nice. You can get me excited for Skyward Sword. The Game and Watch. I am so glad I wasn't streaming at that point. Uh, they made a handheld for me for Travis Lee Height. They made this. I've already pre-ordered it on Best Buy. I need it in my hands maybe 20 years ago.
I saw this and I immediately was like, yeah, you're gonna buy this. Like it was immediate as soon as I typed it into the Discord chat whenever I was watching the presentation live, like immediately I'm like, yeah, this is gonna set him off.
Yo, old retro tech with like the Zelda series that I love. And I've actually never played the original, the OG Link's Awakening, at least more than a few hours of it. So this might give me a reason to. Zelda 2 can fuck right off, but there's even a little stand display so you can have like, just a nice clock sitting by your desk.
I like that they put the clock into the game.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many good bits and pieces for people that like collecting dumb old shit. And I'm your market. And they finally gave kind of a release on Breath of the Wild 2 at some time next year. Also, it makes a little bit more sense why they were focusing on getting Skyward Sword out rather than any of the HD stuff for Zelda they had previously, etc. Since it seems like Skyward Sword is going to be tying directly into Breath of the Wild 2, with having a Sky Kingdom mixed into Breath of the Wild 2, as well as the initial kingdom from the old game that we had seen before.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had already kind of spoken about Skyward Sword as being something that does directly influence Breath of the Wild. So that makes total sense now, seeing some of this new footage that they released about the game. I am very curious to see more, obviously, but I want to take a little bit of a time to chat a little bit about the release date stuff here, because later on after this presentation during the Treehouse Live, whenever they were talking about the game, with I believe it was with Aonuma, it might have been somebody else on the dev team, but they were saying that they're being very cagey about that 2022 number.
Mm.
They are saying they want to have it done by 2022 at some point, but they are not committing to 2022. So it seems like there is definitely some wiggle room with that release date. It could potentially get pushed back to maybe early 2023, but I think it'll probably still come out next year. But they definitely left themselves plenty of back doors in case stuff did not go that way.
Don't you do this to me, Nintendo. Don't you fucking dare. You told me Metroid Prime 4 was coming, then you took that away, then you tell me Breath of the Wild 2 is coming. You move that back another year, I'm still going to buy it, but I'm going to be angry when I hit that key.
They also reportedly said that Breath of the Wild 2 is not the full title of the game, obviously, but they
Yeah.
can't release the title of the game because it will give too much away.
Yeah, I imagine there will be spoilers as to what else this encompasses within the series, probably mentioning a throwback to something previous that happened in the series, as they did with the Another World, I believe was the name of the
Oh yeah,
3DS.
Link to Two Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
or Link
really,
Between Worlds. There you go.
when it comes down to a release date for this, all we have to do is wait until they launch or release the Switch Pro, because this will be a launch title for that.
Oh, the Switch Pro. That's the other, I think, even more so than Breath of the Wild 2 is the major thing coming out of this for Nintendo, is that all this talk about the Switch Pro announced prior to E3 or during E3, it came and went, and we still haven't gotten that announcement about the Switch Pro. Um, I trust the reporting. I'm not going to say that I don't trust the reporting on that, but I don't know what it's odd it's odd that there would be so much in the news about this and so much teasing in different directions with this sort of stuff, and then nothing comes to fruition from it just yet. I don't know what I don't know if y'all had any thoughts about
Um,
that.
I do actually. Speaking from the tech side of this, there have been some really drastic shortages with materials to build tech, and the giants are not immune. Like Apple has been feeling the crunch on that. Um, I mean, just about everybody is. And so I firmly believe that yes, they do have a Switch Pro in the works. However, they are delaying their announcement of it until they're sure they can deliver.
Yeah, I'd probably agree to the same. Honestly, that's the feeling that I get. Even PlayStation has been talking about how they would have sold more PS5 units if only they could, because they literally squeezed out as much as they possibly could have over that time frame.
No, I mean it makes sense. I mean I think that's the number one most logical reason for this is that you still are experiencing manufacturing issues. You are still experiencing like chip shortages and other material shortages. So like I believe that console is an actual thing that will get announced at some point, but I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting that E3 came and went without them really speaking of it. But honestly, that's kind of Nintendo's way. Like they aren't really beholden to E3. Even back whenever like companies like Xbox and Sony were much more beholden to E3, Nintendo really wasn't like that when it came to their announcements. Like they were very much do stuff on our own time, and really didn't feel that kind of pressure per se. So I don't know. Like I'm sure it'll come at some point, like and we'll be here for it. But yeah, I definitely see your point, Lens, in that this could that console's release will probably tie into at least a similar timing with Breath of the Wild 2. That makes total sense. I mean, the first one launched alongside the first game and it sold gangbusters because of it. So if you want a title that's going to sell Switch Pros, Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be the title to sell Switch Pros.
Yeah, you just back to back it, like you come out in, let's say, September. Hey, coming out first financial quarter next year, we're dropping the Switch. By the way, Breath of the Wild 2 and Mario and Rabbids is going to take advantage of this new Switch system that you can get for yourself and your family. That's a 5-second sell if I ever heard one.
Yeah, like that's pretty much going to be it because Nintendo has always been really careful about making sure that they can deliver. Like they tend to go, all right, so right now we know our demand for this console could possibly be in this amount of number. And we know that right now our production capability is like a third of that. We're not the assholes that are going to create demand by scarcity.
Yeah, it's Nintendo being Nintendo. They will always be the toy maker that, wants to hold on to their surprise until the last minute so that you're elated when you see the hype. I absolutely believe that this is coming. Just a matter of when. So that about covers Nintendo. I think we went over that a little longer than we thought we would, but who cares? It's Nintendo. It was one of the most fun things to happen. I think that's the only like really big um thing that was really came out. There was the Bandai Namco presser that was just them talking about a game in more detail that we already knew was coming out. So not very exciting. And of course, in television, getting
Hooray.
people ready for that future.
Yeah, I mean that was basically Nintendo really was the capstone for E3 this time around.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean I guess that kind of leads us as we like only got like a little bit more time left here to what were um what were y'all's like big takeaways this year?
I think that that the tech companies got hit a lot harder by all of this COVID work from home stuff than I think we even really thought about. I know a lot of people were undersold by a lot of this, but there really is a lot of fucking amazing stuff coming out next year. Not just Nintendo, but the next Forza Horizon looks so good. We know we're getting Halo Infinite soon. I think they put down on direct release date for that, right?
No, not a direct release date. They said holiday 2022. Or no, holiday 2020. Was it holiday 2020? Let me double check on that. I don't think that they didn't give a month and day, but let me I think the multiplayer is going to launch first. I'll look that up real quick if you want to
Okay.
keep going.
Yeah. I won't lie. A lot of stuff kind of does blend together in my head a lot, and I think a lot of that had to do with the people that would normally be making the videos, right? That would go out to people, just didn't have that ability to get the stuff together they want to really make everything pop and shine. That Guardians of the Galaxy announcement should have been top tier pop stuff, right? People fucking love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a solid looking single player experience. I think there's a lot of cultural zeitgeist moving away from those multi person online experiences like the Avengers game was that made the game not do poorly. The Avengers game did fine, but not the gangbusters remember for the rest of your life release that it's really could have been.
I mean, not even a game that's supposed to be a live service that will maintain a as healthy of a player count as you need, I think.
Yeah.
But real quick on Halo Infinite, the multiplayer is launching at the same time as the campaign, and that has only been set as holiday 2021. So no definitive release date on that yet, but we do have a window,
It'll be mid-November-ish.
more than likely.
Yeah, so this was a pretty good E3 to me in my eyes. I think well, what limited run games really got a lot of eyes that it never did before, especially with picking up Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, the most memey of meme games to ever exist outside of the game where you're the president of the United States in a mecha that blows up everything. Metal Wolf.
I I cannot believe that Plumbers Don't Wear Ties is going to be released on the PlayStation 5.
But they had so many cool solid things. I am real pumped for the River City Girls release. They're not just putting out a new release of it, but they are doing an updated release of the game that the River City Girls franchises made came from. Don't ask me to pronounce the name of their original series, but it is. There's a particular game where the girls, I believe, are rescuing the boys that was in the original series that never saw the light of America that's coming this way now, and that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm with you on
yeah, like, did you see anything that just really like I didn't expect to be wowed by Elden Ring, but it was there. Did you see much, Brian, that like surprised you that hard?
Um, in terms of like the big release stuff, like major companies, not necessarily a lot of surprises. I mean, Mario plus Rabbids was a big one for me, just
Yeah.
because that was really cool. I had a feeling Elden Ring was going to get shown. I was surprised that that actually got a 2021 release date. That was a surprise. I thought that was a 2022 game immediately. Um, and then a couple of other things, like I was surprised at how much I liked the Final Fantasy Origin stuff outside of the character, like the main character being so like overly aggro in the way that it is. I hope at some point I realize that that demo is only on PS5, so I can't play it right now, even though they fixed it. But I don't know. It looks interesting. I like the idea of bringing the Souls-like stuff into the Final Fantasy prequel world there. My big thing though is that, and this is something that I think has been a belief for a number of years at this point, but if you want to look for the most interesting games out there, you have to look to the independent scene. And this E3 was probably the first E3 where I really felt like the independents got way more of a showcasing than they have in the past. Much deserved
Really?
so. I mean, between like the Wholesome Games Direct, the Day of the Devs stream that came before E3, the Summer Game Fest, a number of other places, the Future Game Show, the PC Gaming Show, a lot of really interesting, awesome titles that I filled out an entire page in my notebook of, and I sent y'all a Google Doc of trailers of stuff. Not even that's not even the whole list that I sent y'all. Like there was a lot of stuff that stood out to me that I have gone and taken time out of my day to wish list all of it and to keep an eye on stuff. I will shout out just a few of them here, just real quick, because the list is too long for me to do this, and I want Linz to have time also. Um, Phantom Abyss looks really good. Spirit Swap, Death's Door looks outstanding. Atomic Heart, I'm into it, even though that was on the Xbox stream. Um, Look at Severed Steel. Naraka Blade Point is the melee battle royale game that I have been craving forever. Citizen Sleeper, Unsighted, Wandering Village, and something that is extremely dumb, Super Drink Bros. If you haven't seen that trailer, go watch that. You wanted to see Cold Brew with a gun. Cold Brew got a gun. And then also Death Trash. Death Trash is a really interesting looking RPG to me, that I have downloaded the demo for, and I am looking to check that out. Also, from the future, tomorrow there's going to be a little bit of a segment talking about Boyfriend Dungeon on GameSpot's Play for All showcase that I am looking forward to because I want more information on Boyfriend Dungeon. I always want more information on Boyfriend Dungeon.
Even before it was a video game, you really needed that information.
I need to date my knife.
Yeah, I mean, especially if I hear anyone say they don't know about Devolver now after the wonderful yet again press conference they put out with so much cool stuff. Like,
Hmm.
how do you
It's
not
dope.
get hype over Wizard with a gun? It just sells itself. You just say the name.
Oh, one more real quick for me to shout out before Lens. Sorry. A game that when I saw it, I immediately thought of both myself and Travis. There's this game called Loot River that is in the works. It's basically Dead Souls mixed with Tetris.
But, huh?
Just look it up. That's all I'm gonna say. Just look up Loot River.
Loot River. Okay.
Yes. All right, Lens. What about you? What stood out to you?
Really, for me, like seeing Inscription and Wizard with a Gun from Devolver, as well as that, oh, what was it called? The Phantom Abyss looks really cool. Um, I'm mostly excited about Forza 5. Uh, 4, I was iffy about 4 because it had a rough launch and there were a lot of people really pissed at it. Um, but now that it had a chance to find its groove, I mean, I only got into it, what, like 2 months ago. Um, it's fantastic. It's definitely fantastic. And seeing what they're doing with 5, bringing us to yet another locale, and the fact that like 4 is based on you have to go through all 4 seasons in a year. Um, and to be honest, spring and winter in the UK suck so much. The roads are wet all the time, and driving a Lamborghini Huracan at like 330 kilometers an hour and then hit a sharp turn is bad. So, seeing what they're doing with 5, taking it to a new climate entirely, it's going to be a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah, I mean, even for an E3 that didn't feel as hype as it was this year as it was in past years, I don't want to hear any more people saying that, oh, E3 is such a disappointment, E3 is so horrible, nothing gets released at E3. Fuck off. It does every single fucking year.
I think a lot of people are more for the instant gratification. You know, like, because how hyped do we get when we see them talk about a brand new game? They go, oh, by the way, it drops now.
True.
You know, so the fact that pretty much everything that was announced is like late this year or mid next or even the year later, I think really irritated a lot of people because they all want that instant gratification.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will definitely say about this show, we're all very much as much interested in the process of the creation as we are in the actual creation. So this for me, seeing all of this, I'm cool with it. Like you have to have me wait a year for a thing that I really want. Fine, 2 years, okay, a little less fine, but we'll put up with it, that sort of thing. And I don't have to be blown away by the initial trailer. I know what a fucking crunch that is for the developers having to take their time out of developing a game to make a vertical slice is the fucking pits. So not seeing a vertical slice presented, 6 months before the game's ready that, knocks my pants off, meh, okay. We
Nah, but
need a world without hype being the most important thing.
Lord, do we?
And buy some goddamn indie games. Don't, I throw you like a list of 50 indie games out here. Brian has 100 that are coming out soon that look goddamn amazing. Limited Run and Devolver fucking killed it this year.
Yeah, and also just on that indie front, a bunch of those indie games that were talked about during E3, they have demos up on Steam now during Steam's dev days, so you can go try all that stuff out.
There's never been a fucking better time to be a gamer than it is right now. There is such a fucking bevy of stuff out there for you to pick up, fuck around with. You don't have to have just the one game. You just go to fucking itch.io, pick up some shit, go to Steam. There's going to be 500 demos. And man, I remember back in the PlayStation 1 game days, like, it gave me a demo disc with like 6 new games that were coming out. That had me for like 2 weeks just messing around with those demos. What a world. Not to be that old man on the corner here being like, my day we respected our developers. Man, fuck that.
Oh Lord. Well, that was E3.
Yeah. Um Depressing in some parts and then amazing in others, and it's not the best E3 I've ever sat through in my life. But I'm not really entirely disheartened by it just because I guess I really didn't have the same expectations a lot of people had. And I don't know why people had some of these expectations. right. Any final words, anybody, before we drop off and move on with our lives?
Not really.
Nah, I'm good. Just make sure you go play the stuff you want to play.
Mhm.
Yeah, be you. Go. Don't have anybody tell you no. You're playing the wrong game. So this is the game of the year. Gatekeeping shit like that can fuck right off. Um, and really, if you don't want to buy into the capitalist bullshit that says that you aren't a real gamer unless you have this, nah, it's good.
Nah, get that out of here. And also, if you have any information on what Atomic Heart actually is, please let me know. That trailer, I've watched that trailer like 10 times, and every time I'm still like, I can't figure out what this is supposed to be. Anyway, I'll leave it at that though.
All right. Thanks everybody that gave a listen as we went through today. I know Wednesday are not our normal days for streaming, but hey, we have fun with this shit. So thank you for making it worthwhile for us to do this for the funsies. Hopefully everyone has a good night and a pleasant tomorrow.
Bye.